Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? I got Nat here from the awesome band SPACESHIPS. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. You're on one of our favorite labels, Friend Club Records. So
Friend Club, yes.
Good people over there supporting good bands, and you're one of them. So we're excited to have you here today.
Yeah, very great. It's very good to be a part of what they've been doing. We actually we were album release number 007 on our last album. So been kicking around since the early days of the Friend Club. So
it's always good to be in on the ground floor.
Yeah. And I've actually been in a group chat with Rob, the label boss, for, man, it might be like 5 years now. It's like we've been just in this group chat with a bunch of different guys across the country, and like just seeing him sort of form the idea of Friend Club kind of before our eyes and kick it around a bit before it actually launched and then to see it now is really, really neat.
Yeah, no, we've had Rob on the show to tell the story, and just I told him he's a lucky human being to have another person to be like, hey, yeah, no, here's a certain amount of money. If you want to go
Yeah.
blow it and lose it all, that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then he's gone and he's blowing and losing it all on us. So it's, we're very grateful.
Well, exciting times for you. Got an album release coming up soon. Today is actually the official day that the song, your first single off of it, came out, which is absolutely awesome. I've been lucky enough to hear the entire album, so I'm excited for the world to hear it because it needs to be heard because it's fucking brilliant. So thank you for creating it.
Man, thank you very much. It's a weird thing because like it's, just like the whole thing of like making an album. It's never I don't know, like the intentionality of like where just like goofing around making riffs and then putting words to it and then actually like, oh no, I'm making an album now. Like that line has been blurry the last few years. And so it's crazy to now like be like, oh no, this is a thing that's out that people will hear.
Well, yeah, and it's been tough, in recent years to actually try to formulate and put together albums, get them out there, and see what's going to happen because of, if people don't know what happened in the past couple of years, it's been kind of weird out there. And
it's been a weird kind of year.
So, when you're coming up with this and creating this, I mean, what do you feel or think the total lifespan was of putting the new album together?
So the first song that I started writing for it was Spilt, which is the first single that came out today. I actually started writing that very first riff. I actually was driving back from I guess I wasn't driving back when I was writing the riff, but I had just been to Post Fest in Indianapolis in 2019. And I was right up like front stage center for the back-to-back sets of Spotlights and Holy Fawn, which is like, those are a couple intense sets to be like in front of the subwoofer for.
Yeah. Spotlights are, I saw them, I want to say a couple months ago, they opened for Quicksand at a local little small venue here. So yeah, so amazing.
They're so incredible. And so I also discovered the band Som at that festival as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just took off to get lunch for a bit and walked in like halfway through their set and was just blown away. Because it was like, I was looking at the schedule like, oh, this is the dead spot in the set. Like, I don't know any of these bands. But then Som was playing. I'm like, oh, this is incredible. And so bought their record and, and I had already been a big fan of Spotlights and Holy Fawn. And so I got back, and particularly the Holy Fawn set, the way that the guitarists sort of like, one of them is just doing light stuff, like really atmospheric stuff, and the other one is doing real heavy stuff. And I was like, I want to mess around with, because we've always like kind of shifted between atmospheric and loud stuff, but I wanted to kind of smash them together at the same time in that similar way. And that little sound experiment became Spilt. And that, I think I got it to a point where I was ready to teach it to the band like February of 2020. We had one practice before the lockdown hit, and I taught them that song and then one other song that actually didn't end up making it to the album. But yeah, that, and then like the next day was when the travel in place restrictions were put in place. And so
perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, because I'm pretty sure it was Tuesday we had the practice, then Wednesday, maybe it was Wednesday to Thursday or something like that. It might have just been the week, but it was right after another. It was really close. And so I was like, well, I'm just gonna, kind of hold off. And the last thing I wanted to do, really, because at that point, like, nobody knew how long it was going to be, right?
No,
like, we're just kind of like, it's going to be a few weeks, whatever. And so I started working on my the last thing I wanted to do was to like just write an album on my own and hand it to them like a month after we got done or whatever, like, hey, like, here are all the songs now. But so I like tried to occupy with all these different things. So I tried to record my high school band's EP that never ever got recorded. I joined a remote band with a few other guys that ended up writing a full length that hasn't come out yet. We've had some drummer problems. But then like I finished my my solo projects album, and then we're still in lockdown. And so I'm like, pandemic's still going on. And we actually played one show in June that like kind of terrified us away from all the hunger that we had for playing a show again just kind of like withered away. And so, it was like another like probably year of just, we're not ready to do anything together yet. But then I'm just still, all these different projects that I had poured myself into, I eventually just ran out of stuff for them. And so I just kept working on stuff and sending demos out to the guys and, seeing like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Whatever. It did at one point make its way up to a double album. And I was like, we're just going to do it. Go the whole way, bloated, over long, need to edit this thing, just release like, the white album sort of thing where like every third track, you're like, this probably, you could have skipped this one. But turns out it's really expensive to do any sort of physical medium for a double album. So that kind of forced our hand there.
Now, I mean, you spoke upon like doing other things, doing your solo thing, doing a remote band. Now, how did this become a kind of like a full-time thing for you?
Yeah. So I had a solo project through college that for a long time was called Nathaniel FitzGerald versus the Industrial Revolution. And I was like, I hate this. After a few years, I was like, I hate saying this every time. So I changed the name down to A Rocket Named Justice and released what was like the album that I had been working on that whole time. I released as A Rocket Named Justice. And then I started working on the second Rocket Named Justice record. And that was like just 3 years of me, between my basement and my apartment and the auditorium in my church when no one was using it, and just recording stuff on my own and multi-tracking everything. And that became I Am a Storm at Sea, which is the first Spaceships record technically, because right before we were going to I was going to release it, I was like, you know what? I hate saying A Rocket Named Justice too. I'm just going to change it to Spaceships. And so changed the name again. And then I got a couple guys to help me play it live. And our guitarist, Ben Gooding, was one of those guys. He originally came in on bass. He actually played drums the very first live Spaceship show. But almost as soon as we started playing the songs in a room together, like I realized like, oh no, this is like a totally different thing. And so we were through a couple drummers that I knew from my church, and just drummers are hard. I'm just gonna say that.
But you can say they're difficult.
Yeah, it's hard. So, it's hard to find difficult. A good, and it's just hard to find a good drummer that both like understands what the vibe is and then is like responsible enough to show up to stuff.
Yeah, my wife was a drummer too, so trust me, I still deal with drummer energy all the time.
Yeah, and like the biggest thing is that the other two guys just like they were working like 80 hours a week, and I was like, okay, so this is not a thing that's happening. And so I actually had been a teacher before. 10 years ago actually is when I was teaching, and there was a kid in the record club that I ran who, after I got laid off, had messaged me. He was like, hey, like if you ever want to jam sometimes, I play the drums. And so a couple years later, here I am needing a drummer, and I'm like, Joel, are you still playing drums? Like we had still been connected on Facebook or whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay. And so like we brought him in for an audition. He just like crushed it. Just like, I think I gave him like, hey, we have like a 7-song set coming up in a couple months. Do you think you can learn these songs? And like I got together with him and he had learned all of them, like just top to bottom, flawless. But then our bassist now, Brett Wood, was actually he was actually in the youth band that I was running back in college. And so he had moved back to the area and was playing in another band called Lucid Lions around here, which, you know, had their own sort of comings and goings. And there were a couple shows where he filled in for Ben. And after like the second or third time that he did, I was like, hey guys, how do you feel? How do you feel about Brett? Because I feel just as comfortable with him on bass now as I do with Ben. And Ben's not actually even a bassist. He's just a guitarist and piano player that I threw a bass at because he was like, I'll do whatever you need. And like, the other part that I didn't mention there is that I actually met Ben when he was my waiter at Steak and Shake one time. I was mixing probably the first Rocket Named Jess's record on my laptop in a Steak and Shake while I was waiting for my friend. And he was like, oh, hey, you working on some music? Can I hear? He's like, oh, this is dope. I'll send you a friend request. And so like, we just like connected on social media and like stayed in touch to the point where once I needed some people to help me play with it. He was like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm down. And then, you know, he's been by my side these, you know, 10 years now. It's 10 years since the first Spaceship show now.
See what music does? Like that's what's awesome. That's what music does.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so, but yeah, then Brett joined, I think probably 3 or 4 years ago. And then we've just been trucking as a 4-piece since.
That's awesome. And I mean, you bring up all these little kind of things and talking about putting together a band that there's similar stories that people have. And what was the hardest part about when you finally got together and say, okay, this is a thing, we're going to keep this going?
I think for me, it's having the self-control to not just do everything. I am, like I mentioned, I had been operating as a solo artist for, 4 or 5 years at that point. And I still like a lot of my writing process, even now, is just like, instead of, a lot of people sit down with an acoustic guitar, I sit down with my looper and I just like start building parts on top of each other and try to intertwine, like, how are the guitar parts interacting with each other? How's the bass interacting with that? Because we've got a lot of parts with like, it's not really like chordy. Like the bass isn't really like driving along the bottom. It's like there's a bunch of like interlocking parts, and I will just come up with ideas like just my mind just doesn't stop. And so the hardest thing for me, which was kind of a blessing and curse on this album, was that I will just write everything if I'm left to my own devices. Yeah. And so given that, through most of the lockdown, I was left to my own devices. There was an awful lot here. I kept trying to like pull back and be like, all right, no, Brett, you will know better to write a part there, or Ben, you'll know better for what to do there. And then Joel is just like, I don't know what he does. That guy is just insane. He is, man, dude is just he baffles me with some of the stuff that he does. He's just so good.
Now, when there's a point in your life that music becomes really something, for me, everyone that's ever listened to this show knows my moment was a little kid with the first time I heard the Beach Boys, and it changed my life. Do you have a moment that music just played that part where you heard something differently for the first time and, you were off to the races from there?
There are a couple different times. And so I came from a musical family, but it was sort of one of those things where it was like music was something that like my parents did, something my sister did, and it wasn't like I wasn't interested in music. Like I wanted to be a scientist, whatever that meant. Like I didn't have a field picked out or anything like that. I was like, I wanted to be both a paleontologist and an astronaut and whatever. I think I probably wanted to wear a lab coat. I don't know.
You want to
But
do sciencey stuff.
I wanted
get
to do
it.
science. Yeah. But so in sixth grade, middle school, we had to sign up for a music class. And I hated music class in elementary school. Like I just didn't want anything to do with it. And so
You were
like
forced.
there was I know. Yeah, exactly. And so, but there was a time in fifth grade, I remember specifically where we had to like take this picture of a brain and divvy it up into different sections and based on how interested we were. And I specifically remember asking my teacher if I had to have everything there because I didn't want to put a music circle on there. Like I just, it didn't appeal to me like at all. And I had to, so I made it like the smallest, ugliest little green snot blob I could. But I had to sign up for a music class in sixth grade, and I didn't want to do, didn't want to do choir, didn't want to do violin, didn't want to play band. But my middle school had something called piano lab, and a friend of mine told me that he saw a drum set inside of the piano lab, and I was like, I could maybe bang on a drum set. So I signed up for piano lab, and I will also say there was not a drum set in piano lab, but
greatest prank ever.
I know. But so the first week that we're in there, they like teach us the grand staff, my dog is Fleas, whatever. And that's not even it. My dog is Fleas is a ukulele. Every good boy deserves fudge. That's the one. Every good boy deserves fudge, stuff his face, and then like teach us ode to joy and whatever, and then just sit us at a keyboard with a pair of headphones and like going through like all the stock sounds on this keyboard. And I instantly realized like, this is something that I can manipulate. Like this is something that I can use to express myself how I want. And that Friday, I think I had been so stoked on whatever crappy keyboard we had at the house that my mom took me to Radio Shack. I think I just lost you a second.
No, I'm here.
Okay. I just got a little fly up thing.
Oh.
I'll back up a little bit. So I think I was so stoked on the little crappy keyboard that we had at my house that by Friday that week, my mom took us to Radio Shack to buy like a quote unquote nice keyboard. It wasn't a nice keyboard. It was a Radio Shack keyboard, but man, I had all sorts of fun playing Ode to Joy through all this other stuff. Making the electric guitar sound and the organ sound, whatever else. But then I still wasn't really listening to music though. And I didn't really have any sort of like, I was listening to like CCM and Weird Al and like thinking that's like, yeah, this is what cool kids listen to. And then one day, I'm pretty sure it was like the night of the lip sync battle at my youth group. My best friend Travis showed me POD, Project 86, and Zayo. And I was just blown away. I did not know music could do that. Like it was just this heavy, powerful noise that somehow wasn't like, yeah, it's like deafening and harsh and whatever, but it's like, but at the same time, it's like, this makes me feel something that I didn't know someone else felt. Yeah. And I didn't know that this was something that could be communicated this way. And so that was really the moment where I like, dragged my dad down to the CD store and grabbed, a bunch of that. And then still it was just, Travis had an older brother, Tyler, and his best friend also named Tyler. And they just burned us like all sorts of stuff from the Tooth and Nail catalog. And I just like devoured it and like, went from like, those three bands to like Linkin Park and Slick Shoes and MXPX and got it eventually to the Ataris and Blink-182 and stuff like that. And then it just became like everything I wanted to do, like within like a week. So
Well, it's when you find those like self-expressive things that you weren't thinking at the time
Yeah.
that existed. You know, my moment I always go back to is I was very lucky to grow up with a lot of music,
Yeah.
but I remember in high school, Buddy and I going to Sam Goody, and I saw this CD, and I was like, wow, I really like this cover. And then I look at the name, I'm like, that's a really cool, interesting name, Sunny Day Real Estate. I was like, all right. So, and it was Diary that, you know,
Yeah.
was, you know, and I buy it, we put it in my car, you know, we're in high school, and I
Yeah.
listened to it. And for the first time in a long time, because I grew up in the grunge era,
Right.
early 90s, late 80s, and I'd never heard anything like this. And I was
Right.
like, I didn't know music was like this. Like my band at the time was Jawbreaker was my favorite at the time. And
Yeah.
like I heard this and I was like, fuck, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. What is this? Why is nothing else like this? And at the
Yeah.
time there wasn't.
No. Really wasn't. No.
But that leads you
Man.
like down that rabbit hole like you went down. And then for me, then I found Mineral and all, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
do you remember the
Man.
first band that you found that was your own that like you kind of took ownership of, like to show someone else to be like, hey, I found this band?
Actually, that's really funny because I talk about this a lot. Like, so after Tyler and Tyler graduated, and actually, I think that it was before they graduated, but I was really the only one in my friends group that had like internet at home. And
Lucky.
so I know. So, I mean, I'm talking like it's 2000, 2001. Like they should have had internet at home. Like it's not a new thing. But so I'm just like pouring through all of these, you know, different forums and label websites and, you know, just, I don't even know whatever, like the people always bring up like these different emo forums and stuff. And I'm sure that I probably crossed into there, but none of the sources that I had like were such a thing that I would be like, oh yeah, like X Thursday X dot newsweek dot site or whatever, like dot angel fire. Like none of those are like the things that I'm like, oh yeah, like this legendary, like I just was like, I would see band names and I would go on. What was it then? Maybe Leica, was that the old search engine? Ask Jeeves, whatever.
Yes.
It was just searching through like, and I would just devour whatever I could. And so I think like the moment where I broke off from, you know, the stuff that they would give me to start to branching out into my own stuff, I think, because I wanted to say Juliana Theory, but they were on the Songs from the Penalty Box Volume 4 compilation, which is a fantastic compilation. And like, I remember like all my friends, we all freaked out about that song was on there. I think it was to the tune of 5,000 Screaming Children. And we were like, oh man, this is great. And so it probably wasn't that one. I think it was probably Further Seems Forever was the one where I was like, oh, so you guys know, like people have been talking about Dashboard Confessional. Did you know he's in another band? And then from there it became, you know, I would follow Further Seems Forever down to Sunny Day Real Estate and to Fugazi and to Jawbox, and, you know, and stuff like that. And so, but yeah, it was really like for a long time, like I was really the only person that I knew who was listening to like Thrice or Thursday or Glassjaw or Coheed and Cambria or, you know, and I discovered at the drive-in downloading a Dashboard Confessional song called Dancing on the Corpse's Ashes. That wasn't a Dashboard Confessional song. It was Invalid Litter Department. But like nobody, and it's weird because it's not like I had a sheltered childhood, and it's not like I went to a small high school. Like there were 4,000 kids in my high school. It's just that's nobody else. If anybody else there was where I was at the same time, I didn't know it. And so
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
just
I had a lot of friends based on music in high school too, and like at the drive-in. I'll tell you, the first time I saw them, I didn't know who they were, and I heard them. They opened for the Get Up Kids, and I was just like, "What the fuck just happened?"
man, that's a wild fucking lineup.
Yeah, it was like Hot Rod Circuit at the drive-in and Get Up Kids.
Yeah, at the drive-in they just came to ruin everyone's day, didn't they?
Pretty much.
Wow. Sorry, everyone else. That's kind of like when the first time I saw Minus the Bear was in between Me Without You and Thursday. And it was like, sorry, Minus the Bear. Like, you seem really boring right now.
Yeah, that's a weird placement of Minus the Bear.
Yeah. It was a weird show.
Well, do you remember your first concert ever?
There was probably like some CCM thing that my parents dragged me to.
How about the first one you got to pick to go to?
First one I picked to go is probably like a local show near me. I'm trying to remember who else was on there. There was a group of guys from a nearby college. I was in ninth grade, maybe maybe going into ninth grade. And there was a group of guys in my college. It was actually my dad's college best friend's son was the lead singer for this
former
band
college roommate. No.
Yeah, for this band called Cape Renewal, which was like this honest to goodness like emo core thing. Like it sounded like Dead Poetic before Dead Poetic was a thing. Or if Dead Poetic existed, that album hadn't come out yet. And I think that the openers were my friends. Oh no, it wouldn't have been One Way Out. They hadn't been together yet, or they had broken up. It was whatever One Way Out became. I think the Ripoff, maybe Drive. They went through a few names, and then eventually became the Honor Recital, who got some notoriety at some point. But yeah, that was really the first thing that I remember going to of my own volition. That wasn't like a high school Battle of the Bands sort of thing, and being like, oh yeah, that Cape Renewal set really like ripped my any sort of expectations I had for anything just kind of out of my head, and I just kind of bounced it around a little bit. It was just wild. So there is two vocalists, and one of them would just scream, and it was almost like he wasn't involved in whatever song the rest of the band was doing, and he was just kind of like running around the auditorium like doing these background screams,
like the dancer in Mighty Mighty Boss Stones. Doesn't have a partner, just dances.
No, except he was just screaming, like, and it was this thing where it's like it almost feels interruptive, but in a way that like I think it opened my mind to like, oh no, there's another conversation that's going on here that I hadn't heard. And so that was a very, very, very eye-opening show there.
That's awesome. Do you have a show that you remember for better or worse that like you just can't get out of your head?
Me Without You, Kalamazoo, 2006. They actually had just wrapped up a tour. They wrote Brother Sister, and then they drove out to California to record it. And I believe they made 2 stops. I think there was another show in Colorado, but the first stop they made was in Kalamazoo in like a conference center. I had driven down for it, and I'm pretty sure they were late to the show too. Like they're having bus problems. Me That You was always having bus problems. They had that bus that ran on vegetable oil, and it would always like stall and whatever. And I think all of them got their their mechanics licensing.
They put out videos of them each underneath the bus fixing it at some point.
Right. They were as much a auto repair shop as they were a band. But it was my second time seeing them. And it was also the first time, I believe, to my knowledge, it was the first time that they played any of the songs from Brother Sister, including in a sweater poorly knit, which at the moment was just this absolutely mind-blowing experience, because like Aaron had started doing some clean vocals on the album before that, but like never is he going to pull out an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And here he is, and he pulls this out. We're like, what's this now? Because I actually had a friend who had been pretty good friends with them before, and like would see Aaron play like some of the folksy covers that he eventually would play like around like the brother sister era. Like he would go out with an acoustic guitar and play like Bob Dylan and Nutri-Milk Hotel songs, just to the line as they're just waiting there. And I had a friend who knew him when he would do this just like on his own, and she was like, you should hear him with an acoustic guitar. And so I already had like that expectation, because I was like, okay, now it's like, what is this going to be now? And it was In a Sweater Poorly Knit, and it's still incredible. And I am very upset that the video that I got was with a very crappy camera whose audio syncing just slips further and further away the longer the video goes, because otherwise it's a great performance, great show.
Yeah, and it's those magic moments, and that's, sometimes, I mean, nowadays with the show, I have to have my camera out at certain points to record certain things, but
right.
I mean, the people that have it up the whole time, like, kind of drive me crazy, because you're never going to really go back and watch it. And,
Yeah.
But I like remembering more than seeing it again, because if I remember it, all of a sudden I have that same feeling come back of the first time I heard it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that album would go on to, I mean, so by the time that album came out, I had heard, I saw them 2 more times before the album came out. And I think I heard all but 2 songs before they came out, between seeing them live and seeing stuff that popped up on YouTube. And it's just, that moment still in Kokomo, watching them play these songs for the first time is just like kind of the ideal of that album in my mind. Which we actually did a performance of that entire album a couple months ago.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good ode.
Yeah, I
was that forced on by you to everybody else, or was everybody on board with it?
It was. I guilted everybody into it. Ben was on board, but I think Joel heard it for the first time 2 weeks before. But we did it.
That's awesome.
It'll probably be up on YouTube by the time this podcast goes live.
All right, cool. Something to look forward to along with the new album. Now, when it comes to Spaceships, so we don't have to genre label or tell anybody what it's like, if there was one song that you already have out to the world that's recorded, what song would you play for somebody that would best describe what Spaceships is? So a first-time listener, you're like, oh, I'm in a band. Here you go. This is what we sound like. What would you play for them?
I would caveat this that you have to listen to the whole thing. And it's 7 minutes long. That'd be the song Parallel. It was the penultimate track from Pillars. And it's just like, because it's got the whole vibe, it's got the opening bit is just all like the sort of interlocking parts that don't quite follow each other. And then it just crescendos into this big crushing heavy part, which we've had some shows where I would jokingly yell out, depending on the crowd, let's open up this fucking pit. And there was one show in particular where they actually did it, and I'm like, oh my god, this feels so good. Like, all these kids in a basement are actually like moshing to this like heavy chuggy part in this song. This is incredible.
Would you consider that your favorite song you've released, or just the one you would play for people?
It's probably the most representative. I go back and forth on what the best song is, what my favorite song is a lot. Right now it's probably Spilt.
That's weird. It came out today.
I know. And by the time the album comes out, it'll probably be something else. I have a really hard time. I had a really hard time choosing a single. I basically laid it on the mercy of the rest of the band and friend club. I was like, all right, y'all, I don't know what song I want the single to be. Probably the one with the guest star. That would make sense. With the Holy Fawn guy. Yeah. That would probably make sense.
It's hard though, because at that moment too, you're trying to pick, it's the pick your favorite child. Okay, here's my 10 children. What am I going to pick for my favorite one to put out right now? You don't know. Right. You got to leave it to other people.
Yeah. And it's the whole thing, like, cause I'm not writing any of these thinking like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good single. I'm just writing songs, and whatever stands out, I guess stands out. And so, yeah, like the second single that's going to come out, Sinews, I don't even know if I would have chosen that. That was another one of like sort of back and forth where it's like, I mean, I don't really know. It's maybe that one, maybe this other one. I think there are maybe 3 other ones, and the album is only 8 tracks long. So it's like if there were four tracks in contention to be the single, that's kind of shows you.
Yeah, well, you have an 8-track album where if it was a punk album, it'd be 24 tracks. So,
yeah. Well, it's because all the songs are 7 minutes long.
Exactly.
Right. So,
now I think I know the answer to this, but in your life, do you have a band that never lets you down? That like no matter what mood you're in, you'll turn to them, especially when you don't know what you want to listen to. You just constantly go back to a band.
You probably know who it is, but they did let me down because Me Without You broke up last year.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, boys, come on. No, it's one of those things. And it was, it's so funny because it was at their farewell tour that I realized like that I actually had been holding on to like quite a bit actually of like some self-consciousness about how much I loved and appreciated that band, because I didn't want to be like that guy, like I didn't want to be like the Me Without You guy. So it was like,
you're
kind
allowed.
of backing off. And what's that?
I said, you're allowed to be that guy.
Well, right.
I was that guy with Elliot. Like,
right.
That was my band.
Yeah. But like, it's just like, I don't know what it was exactly. There was, I don't know what sort of, misgivings I had that made me feel like I should back off or hide it or something. But then I saw them the farewell tour and I go, what am I doing? I am that guy. I'm gonna let myself be that guy. So, yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like their discography is just so diverse, where even like, when you talk about like their heavy stuff, it's like, what do you mean by heavy right now? Because they'll do a lot of it. Whereas like, are you talking like hardcore punk? Are you talking like doom gaze? Cause can kind of do you both ways. And it's just, it's just been a band that's been around. I got into the ground level with them. So I picked up the A to B Life at the bookstore at my church camp that I went to as a youth in the summer between 11th and 12th grade, and just like devoured it. And then, was just there for every subsequent release. And so, that's them.
Yeah. That's the big part where, bands come and go and they break up, and it's understandable. And there's so many bands that I absolutely love.
It's not understandable.
It is I get it. Sometimes you get it, especially if you see them on tour and you're like, oh, they're not doing too good with each other right now. So I understand it, but I mean, especially all the bands that I love. But yeah, when it came to Elliot, for me, like I was devastated. Like
Yeah.
when I was at their second to last final show that they
Oh man.
before they came back for this quick run they just did. But I was like finding out the next day was their last show. I was like heartbroken. Like it was
Yeah.
like a girlfriend, like my greatest girlfriend in my life broke my heart and I would never be the same again. And I was always
Yeah.
searching for other bands to do what they did so I could feel whole again. And I never found it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really wanted to get out to Philly for one of the 2 hometown shows that they had. Problem being, they were the weekend before my wife and I were going into the hospital to induce our daughter. So
well, I mean,
I think I probably could I go out Friday and be back by Monday night? Could I do that?
Listen, I'm not saying you made the right decision, and I'm also not saying you made the wrong decision. I'm just saying a decision had to be made, and you made it.
I told my wife, yeah, so they posted the date for the last shows, and she goes, when is it? And I told her, and she just laughed. So there it goes.
Well, at least you can always think about that. Like it's always something, with your child to remember.
Right. Yeah,
you made me miss this. I still love you, but this is how much I love you.
Well, and I have the the final shows were broadcast, and so I have the video of it, and so I even was watching the show thinking, like, imagining myself showing this to my daughter as a 10-year-old or something, thinking like, this is absolutely going to feel to her like, my father-in-law has this Paul McCartney live DVD that he used to play all the time. I'm like, this is going to feel exactly the same to her.
I can't wait till that moment happens and you're so disappointed in her reaction. Nothing better than a child calling a parent a nerd. So just wait for that moment.
I am looking forward to it.
Now, talking about all the music we've been talking about, is there something that you listen to that people would be really shocked you get tons of enjoyment out of listening to?
I feel pretty outspoken about like the stuff that I enjoy, and so it might not be that much of a surprise. I will say that my wife is always surprised anytime I put Chris Stapleton on.
All right.
I actually just made her a mix. She hasn't had Spotify this whole time. She's still been rocking Pandora, and so Spotify was doing a duo premium sort of deal ahead of Valentine's Day. So I was like, okay, like that's a good deal. Here, let me upgrade my account so you can listen to Spotify too, and let me make you a mix. And then nestled between like the Cure and Joy Division and Depeche Mode and who else was on there? Yeahs were on there, and there's some Son of a Widow by Me Without You's on there, of course. But then in Radiohead tracks and whatever, and then here's Parachute by Chris Stapleton. She goes, "Oh, really?" I go, "Yeah, it's a good song. Yeah,
a good song's a good song, no matter who does it.
Good song's a good song."
So Stapleton's your
Stapleton, okay. Yeah. I mean, and so I had a really folksy moment in college and was, pretty earnestly into the alt country, outlaw country, old school country sort of thing for a bit. It was right around the time that Bright Eyes did Cassadaga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, Hank Williams.
Well, at country, I try to explain to people, I'm an old nerd, and I'm like, that outlaw country stuff, that's the original punk rock music. Like, that's where punk came from. Like, that's punk.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
They're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, dude, no, that's actual punk.
Yeah. Punk, country and jazz were punk before punk was. But yeah, and which is so weird though, like, cause now jazz feels like so stuffy and whatever. It's like, no, it was. Miles Davis had plenty of run-ins with the police.
Yes. But the jazz stuff now is like you walk into like a low-key bar or a coffee shop and they're playing jazz, and I'm just like, everyone in here is so pretentious. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, or you walk into Borders.
Yeah, and I love jazz. Like I have a whole file collection here of my vinyl and old school jazz and Newport Jazz Festival albums that I listen to all the time. But it's like, if I hear it somewhere else, I'm like, oh, these pretentious assholes. They think they know what they're listening to.
Oh man. Have you watched I Think You Should Leave?
I don't think I have.
It's a sketch comedy show starring Tim Robinson is a guy who was on SNL for I think only a season. But he's the creator and writer and stars in a bunch of the sketches. But there's one where they're playing just like the taboo with like the name in the hat, and you have to guess who the person is, whatever. And one of the guys keeps putting in like just really super obscure jazz players that don't actually exist. Like in real world, they don't exist. And there they exist. Like, oh man, this guy's great. He plays on whatever album with Fatty McGee. He's that saxophonist with the. It's like, no, how does nobody know this?
I just wrote it down because I will watch that when we're done here today.
Yes, it is a wonderful show, and I am always on the lookout for people who watch it because I need more people that I can reference it and won't treat me like I am insane.
Well, I just wrote it down so we can talk again after it, because I will go and watch it when somebody says something, they like something. I have to find out for myself. It's either going to be great or it's going to be shit, and we'll figure it out. I almost never follow up with that. Almost never. Well, you do an awesome thing too. Like on your posts, you post an album, and I used to do this. I was trying to do an album in a day thing, and then unfortunately, real life got in the way of me doing it. I was doing "What Are You Listening To?" and that was what I was listening to that day. Yeah, but you do nice little write ups and everything. And is that for you kind of what this is for me, bringing new music to new listeners, and hopefully someone reaching out being like, hey, that's awesome, thanks for that?
Maybe in a way. That's probably not doesn't probably fill the same role, because I do have a podcast as well that we talk about music, and so that's probably more like what you do. But now we're rivals, or what were you trying to start beef here? I mean, listen, if you can keep up with our every 6 week post schedule, because we keep forgetting to post. No, so it was actually it started up really because I looked at my collection and was like, I actually don't think I've heard everything here. I'm going to listen to everything. I'm going to force myself to listen to everything, and I'm going to like write up some ideas about it. And like I had kind of dabbled around with the idea of I had various music blogs in various forms throughout the years, and just posting album reviews on Facebook and whatever, or LiveJournal or whatever was available at the time. And I was like, no, I'm gonna start this thing. I'm gonna do an album a day, alphabetical order, write a thing. And that was like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. and I'm not done yet. Also, like, I only had 400 albums when I started. And now it's up to like, 1,200, 1,300.
Well, yeah, I would never be able to do that because I'll be long dead before I could post every single thing that I own. Like it's,
oh man, it's
horrible.
I actually have been working through my back queue for a while. And there's stuff on the back queue because like I'm doing it alphabetical. And so if I buy something that's earlier in the alphabet, I'm like, oh, I have to do this before I go on. And so I have a pretty severe back queue to the point that like I'm pretty sure that there's a mono album up there that I'm pretty sure I bought that for myself for my birthday in 2020.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, like I sit here right now and I look in front of me. I'm like, okay, Hot Water Music. So that takes up a month. If I put out every Hot Water Music album that I was, every day.
Oh man, I bought that box set that Rise Records was doing, and I'm like, I don't even know if I want to start listening to this because I didn't realize it was a compilation. I thought it was like a proper box set,
Yeah.
But I'm like, if I listen to it, then I have to write about it, and I don't know if I want to do all that. But but no, I'm trying to be better. I'll probably skip that hot water music one. But yeah, a year of vinyl.com. Yeah, I'm trying to do better. Trying to do better at it.
Hey, you're doing good. I see it every day, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm like, oh, I have that. I like that.
There you go.
So, all right, world's going to end in 5 minutes. Meteors crashing into the earth. You have to listen to one song. What song are you listening to?
Oh man. Will I finish the song by the time the meteor?
No, you don't. You don't have to. Someone picked "Stairway to Heaven." I'm like, all right, well, there you go. You're dead.
Oh well, okay. Well, I was going to say because I think like isn't Philip Glass working on that composition that's like still they started it in the 90s and it's still playing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Could choose that one if I could listen to the whole thing. Man, I don't know.
I know it's a gotcha question.
Probably, yeah. It's a gotcha question. Probably Carousels by Me Without You because I'm that guy.
Yeah. And again, we decided you're allowed to be that guy.
I'm that guy.
So with a new album coming out, which when this airs, it'll be tomorrow. So what's the biggest things you're looking forward to with the release of the new album and what you got coming up?
We've got some out of town shows that we've been trying to get to for a while. Brett and I are actually involved this year with the organization of Audiofeed Music Festival out in Champaign-Urbana, which is sort of the spiritual successor to Cornerstone in a way. There's a bunch of folks when Cornerstone had to stop who were, came up going to that fest and helped out. And then, Cornerstone evaporated and they're like, well, we still want to do something. And so they started something at the fairgrounds in Champaign-Urbana. And it is, I think, the 10th year this year. But I think it might not be actually the 10th festival because 2020 was skipped. But so we're going to play that, I'm pretty sure, because half the band is helping book a stage. So we're probably going to play that. But we've got vinyl coming out for it through Friend Club. And then just trying to keep playing music and meeting new people and showing our music to those people and, just the same stuff that we've been doing.
But listen, I don't want to keep you any longer than we have to today. This has been a lot of fun. I look forward to doing it again sometime down the road. Yeah. Maybe on your show when we, whatever, now that we're rivals.
If we ever do another episode.
But before I let you tell everybody how to find what it is you're doing, I want to say, and this is in all honesty, I love what you do. I appreciate what it is you do and putting it out into the world for people to judge and either enjoy or dislike. It takes a lot for someone to do that. And I don't think people get enough credit for being able to do that and creating what you create. So I just want to say thank you and I appreciate you for what it is you do.
Thank you for saying that. I've been doing this long enough that I sometimes feel like it's an anomaly to do that. So,
but why don't you take the time now and tell everybody how to find everything that it is that you do to keep up with Nat.
We are Spaceships is at We Are Spaceships on all socials. If you are looking us up on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever other streaming, there is another Spaceships. We're the Spaceships that's all capitalized because we're the more important one. So we're going to yell it at you.
Screaming Spaceships.
Nativity is my solo project. That is NTVTY. And that's just, there aren't too many permutations of that. So if you just put that in anywhere, it'll pull up to me. Record blog is ayearofvinyl.com. Podcast is Detuned Radio. I think that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're in our final segment. It is our weekly threes. It is 3 things that you're listening to right now that you would like people to check out as well.
Oh man. Wish I would have gotten some warning here.
Everybody just picks up their phone and goes to Spotify.
I know.
It's
The band Elder released a new album in December called Innate Passage, and they are very excellent. Go listen to that. I recently acquired a copy of one of my holy grails, which is Fantastic Planet by Failure. Absolutely,
I saw that the other day.
Absolutely classic album. Absolutely wonderful.
I got to see them open for. So I always get. I forget if it was Failure opened for Tool or Rage Against the Machine and Quicksand. I always get who opened for who, like back in 1992 or 93, back at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City. But Failure either, I believe it was Tool and Quicksand opened for Rage. But yeah,
yeah. And then the number 3, I'm going to choose Rockabye Baby lullaby versions of The Cure. Somehow is just my baby's favorite one of the Rockabye series, and it puts her almost right to sleep in a way that some of the other ones don't. The Smashing Pumpkins one I've actually had some luck with more recently, but the Cure one really is really solid and just makes me want to listen to the Cure more. So.
Yeah, well, that's because Robert Smith's better than Billy Corgan, but that's just I love them both, but that's just my view. Smith can do it on his own. Corgan needs Jimmy Chamberlain to make great music, so that's the way I feel. Yeah. So that's my opinion. But okay, on to my 3s for this week.
I would disagree on The Strength of a Door. I think it's sometimes my favorite one.
All right. First one is a band called Gatherers, new album called Mutilator. My second one is a band called Snarls, and the album is called Burst.
I heard a lot of hype about that one. Like I said, I didn't follow up with it.
And my last but not least, Dari Bay. Name of the album is Longest Day of the Year. Those are my 3 for this week.
All right.
Well, Nat, thank you again so much for being here. We appreciate it is what you do. We look forward to some amazing stuff, and I can't wait for the rest of the world to hear the album because I'm totally adore it. So I know other people will as well.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I hope they do.
They will. Thanks for force it upon them.
Oh, good.
Good. It's our pleasure. But
like that.
Everybody out there, you know what time it is. It's time to go out, listen to Spaceships, all capitals, and have a great fucking time. Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.